I sat in the back of Mitchell & Sons Manufacturing's annual shareholder meeting, watching my stepbrother Cameron preen at the podium. 10 years of being told I didn't belong here, and now I was about to show them just how wrong they were. As interim CEO, Cameron announced, I'm proud to continue the Mitchell legacy of excellence. Right. The same legacy that had excluded me since my mom married David Mitchell when I was 12. The same legacy that had paid for Cameron's MBA while I worked 3 jobs to put myself through engineering school. Despite recent setbacks, Cameron continued, glossing over the company's plummeting stock price, we remain industry leaders in innovation. I checked my watch. Any minute now. The door opened, and William Chin, CEO of Chin Global Industries, Mitchell & Sons' biggest client, walked in. Cameron's practiced smile faltered slightly. This wasn't part of his script. Mr. Chin, he stammered. We weren't expecting. Clearly not, Mr. Chin replied dryly, taking in the room's nervous energy. But given recent concerns about Mitchell & Sons' performance, the board felt it was time for some changes. I stood straightening my blazer. At 32 I was younger than most executives in the room, but a decade of fighting twice as hard had aged my resolve. Everyone, Mr. Chin announced, meet your new CEO Alexandra Torres. The room erupted in whispers. Cameron's face went from confused to horrified as I walked to the podium. Behind him, my stepfather David Mitchell choked on his water. But she's not. Cameron sputtered. She's not real family. No, I agreed, taking my place at the podium. I'm better. I'm qualified. I pulled out the acquisition papers Chin Global had been quietly preparing for months. Now, shall we discuss the future of Mitchell & Sons? Or should I say Mitchell Torres Manufacturing? Cameron's Mont Blanc pen clattered to the floor as the reality sank in. The stepsister they'd dismissed was now their boss. The boardroom felt smaller with everyone squeezed in for the emergency meeting. Cameron sat slumped in his usual seat, the one he'd inherit from his father, or so he'd always bragged. David Mitchell's face had aged 10 years in the past hour. Let's review, I said, pulling up the company financials on the screen. 3 failed product launches in 2 years. Market share down 40%. And most concerning, I clicked to the next slide, quality control issues that nearly lost us the Chin Global contract. Those reports are confidential, David protested weakly. We're confidential, I corrected. So I have full access, including to the hidden folder marked Family Matters. Cameron shifted uncomfortably. We both knew what was in that folder. Documentation of every time they'd passed me over for promotions, every project they'd given him credit for despite my work. While you were protecting the Mitchell name, I continued, I was protecting the business. Who do you think flagged the defects in the Chin Global shipments before they went out? That was anonymous. Cameron sat up straight. Was it? Or did you just never bother to check who your quality control manager was? I pulled up my old employee file. Lucy Torres. The name I used after you blocked my applications under Alexandra. David's face reddened. You infiltrated our company? No, I earned my place in it. Multiple times. Under multiple names. Because apparently, merit only matters when you don't know it's me. Mr. Chin, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. Ms. Torres's work saved Chin Global millions in potential recalls. When we learned she was the same Alexandra Torres whose engineering innovations we'd been tracking. You orchestrated this takeover, Cameron accused. Actually, I smiled, you did. Every time you chose nepotism over talent. Every time you signed off on subpar work because it came from real family. I gestured to the stock charts. The results speak for themselves. The board won't stand for this, David tried one last time. The board already voted, Mr. Chin interjected. Unanimously. After seeing Ms. Torres's proposed restructuring plan. I distributed copies of the plan, the one I'd spent years developing while watching them run my father's company into the ground. The company that should have been as much mine as Cameron's. First order of business, I announced, merit-based promotions. No more legacy hires. Cameron's face went pale. You can't just dash. Second, I continued over his protest, full audit of all project attributions for the past 5 years. It's time everyone got credit for their actual work. And what about us? David asked quietly. I pulled out 2 folders. That depends. Option 1. You stay but with revised roles based on actual qualifications. Option 2. Generous severance packages. You'd fire your own family? Cameron's voice cracked. Funny, I replied, remembering all the times they'd excluded me. I thought I wasn't real family. 1 month later, I stood in my father's old office, my office now, looking at the Mitchell & Sons logo being carefully removed from the wall. The Mitchell Torres Manufacturing sign was ready to go up, but I'd ordered a pause for one final meeting. They're here, my assistant Jack announced. Both of them. Cameron and David walked in, both looking distinctly uncomfortable in business casual rather than their usual bespoke suits. The past month had been educational for them. Nice office, Cameron muttered, eyeing the space he'd always assumed would be his. Very different. He wasn't wrong. Gone were the dark wood panels and hunting trophies. The space was now modern, open, with walls of awards, not for the Mitchell name but for innovations and patents. Many bearing my various aliases. How's the engineering department? I asked Cameron, who'd chosen option 1, staying with revised responsibilities. Humbling, he admitted. Turns out I don't know as much about our products as I thought. And the board meetings? I turned to David, who'd been demoted to non-executive director. Quieter, he replied stiffly. Since I'm not allowed to vote on family matters anymore. I sat behind my desk, my father's old desk, the one thing I hadn't changed. Do you know why I kept you both on? They shook their heads. Because running away would have been easier. I pulled out an old photo of me at 12, just after Mom married David, standing proudly in front of Mitchell & Sons. I loved this company before I understood what family meant. While you were protecting your legacy, I was protecting his. I pointed to my father in the photo. About that, David shifted uncomfortably. Your mother found some old documents in the attic. About your father's shares. The ones that disappeared after he died? I smiled thinly. Already found them. Amazing what a forensic audit uncovers. Cameron paled. Dad, what did you do? What he thought was best for his real family, I answered for him. Right, David? The silence was heavy with 2 decades of guilt. Here's what happens next, I continued, pulling out new contracts. Those shares will be returned with interest. You'll both retain your new positions, provided you meet performance metrics. And the Mitchell name stays in the company title. Why? Cameron asked. After everything? Because destroying the company would be easy. Making it better. I gestured to the quarterly reports showing our first profit increase in years. That's real revenge. And Mom? David asked quietly. Will continue enjoying her lifestyle, unaware of how close you came to losing everything. Consider it my one act of family loyalty. As they signed the new contracts, I noticed Cameron studying the Innovation Awards wall. You really did all this? He asked. Under different names? I did. And now I'm doing it under my own name. I handed them their new business cards. Welcome to the real family business, where merit matters more than last names. That evening, as the new sign went up, I called Mom. She was still adjusting to my new role, caught between pride and confusion. The board meeting went well, I told her. David and Cameron are adapting. I never understood why they fought so hard against you, she said softly. You're so much like your father. No, I corrected, watching the last rays of sun glint off our new logo. I'm better. Because I had to be. My phone buzzed with a text from our HR director. First round of merit-based promotions ready for review. I smiled, thinking of all the hidden talent about to be unleashed. Send them up, I replied. It's time everyone had a fair shot at the corner office. After all, the best family businesses aren't built on blood, they're built on brilliance. And I had 20 years of pent-up brilliance ready to shine. Miss Torres. Jack poked his head in. Chin Global's board sent over the expansion proposal. Perfect timing, I said, picking up my father's old pen. Let's show them what this family can really do. The next morning, a stack of personnel files waited on my desk, the first casualties of our merit review system. Among them was Gregory Mitchell, Cameron's cousin, who'd been running our R&D department into the ground for 3 years. The Mitchell Family Council is demanding a meeting, Jack said, handing me my coffee. They're calling it a violation of family tradition. I laughed. Family tradition is what got us a 40% defect rate in R&D. Schedule them for Friday. Also, he hesitated, your mother's here. Mom stood in the doorway looking uncertain in her designer outfit. She'd always tried to fit into the Mitchell world, even when they'd made it clear we were outsiders. The country club is buzzing, she said, sitting down. Margaret Mitchell, Gregory's mother, uninvited me from her garden party. Because I fired her incompetent son? Because you're dismantling everything they built. No, I corrected, pulling up Gregory's performance reports. I'm fixing everything they broke. Did you know Gregory approved faulty safety equipment last year? Equipment that could have killed people. Mom's face paled. But the Mitchells always said dash. The Mitchells say a lot of things, Mom. That's why I hired people who do things instead. As if on cue, Dr. Sarah Chin, no relation to William Chin, walked in. She'd been working as a junior engineer under Gregory, her innovations repeatedly stolen and credited to the Mitchell name. The new safety protocols are ready, she announced, then noticed my mother. Oh, I'm sorry, I can come back dash. No, stay, I said. Mom, meet our new head of R&D. Dr. Chin has 12 patents to her name, patents Gregory claimed were his. Mom's eyes widened. But he showed us the certificates at Christmas dinner. Forged, Dr. Chin said quietly. Like the safety reports. I watched the realization dawn on Mom's face. The same realization I'd had years ago about the family we tried so hard to join. There's more, I said gently. About Dad's shares. But before I could continue, Cameron burst into the office, face flushed. You fired Greg? The board will never dash. The board already approved it, Dr. Chin interrupted, steel in her voice. Along with a full investigation into the safety violations. Cameron deflated slightly, then noticed Mom. Aunt Linda, you have to talk to her. This isn't how family dash. Family. Mom stood slowly. Like when you told the scholarship committee Alex wasn't Mitchell material? Or when David blocked her father's life insurance payout? I stared at her. You knew about that? I found the papers last week, she said, hands trembling. In David's study. Along with letters from your father. Letters written before his accident. My heart stopped. What letters?